And now is the moment you've all been waiting for. Gummy. I am not joking when I say there is no other person on Earth that is more qualified to review Gummy than me. I beat high risk with this operator. I have used her in every stage since I began playing. So first of all, I swear to God I am not joking, hear me out, Saria doesn't power creep Gummy. Saria is the better operator anyway, but she isn't a direct power creep. Gummy has a unique niche within the Guardian Defenders, which is passive crowd control through a pretty reliable stun with the module talent. And she also heals above 50% HP, which while a bad thing in most situations does matter in some others. Specifically against enemies that deal more than 50% HP with a single attack to your healing target. Saria will heal them once and then stop, because now they are above 50% HP. In the scenario where Saria didn't manage to get them back to 100% HP with that singular heal, they will likely die at the next hit, or die soon enough anyway. Gummy, instead, will always heal them back to full using multiple charges, ensuring their survival, assuming there is enough time between attacks to charge those charges. Next, it's important that Gummy stuns specifically. Saria doesn't power creep her crowd control with skill 3. Exhibit A. Stultifera Navis. In this event, Gummy is unironically the best healing defender, because she can stun and remove the dodge from the enemies. Saria skill 3 can't fucking do that. This alone proves that Saria isn't a direct power creep, but let's keep going. Exhibit B. Any blocked enemy. Slow will not stop them from attacking, while Gummy, with good enough RNG, which honestly is not that hard to achieve, can stun lock slow attacking enemies like golems. So no, Saria and Nearl, let's throw in Nearl too, do not power creep Gummy. Let's talk about her stats. Gummy is deceptively tanky, especially with her module. She can survive a lot of shit you'd never think she would, like the Chapter 10 cannon and the Peterheim middle school incident. Here's a little quirk that, as far as I know, doesn't happen with any other operator. Gummy also gets worse when you E2 her, like Frostleaf, but only temporarily. This is because at E1 max, Gummy has a niche as a very cheap tank that can also heal at just 16 DP, which might as well be free. By E2ing, you increase her DP cost and thus remove this niche from her without much gain. However, at S1M3 she is better than E1 max, so a Gummy tier list theoretically would go something like from best to worst: E2 S1M3 mod 3, E2 S1M3, E1 max, and then E2 S1M0. Why am I mentioning this? Because technically, Gummy has 2 optimal levels, depending on what you want her to do. If you want her to be a very good tank with great heals, E2 S1M3 mod 3 her. If you want her to be a cheap early game tank, you can deploy like frame 1, E1 max her. But SUPAH, why doesn't Spot have this niche then? Because he's a 3-star and his one skill is the bad healing defender skill. And he's ugly! Have you seen that scrapped skin that never ended up releasing because the fanbase roasted it so hard? That didn't happen to Gummy. Her skin is perfect, right in the middle between cool and class. Next, her talent 1. We already talked about the stun, but the crit is also good. She does kinda decent damage, more than every healing defender not named Blemishine at least. With good enough RNG, she can, weirdly enough, lane hold a lane with weak fodder enemies until you place down an actual DPS to help her. Gummy's skill 1 is very simple and you should M3 it, or I will rapidly approach your location. It gains 1 extra charge and 1 SP cost reduction, which yes, does matter a lot, beside obviously buffing her heal. Not much to say, it's just a reliable source of healing. Skill 2 is trash. Remember when I said Spot had the bad healing defender skill? This is the bad healing defender skill. It takes Nearl's bad skill and makes it even worse by giving it a 10-second charge before actually doing anything. Or does it? God, I sound schizophrenic, but you see, Nearl skill 2 is also not a power creep to Gummy skill 2. They do different things. This is because during the charge up, Gummy gets a chunky defense buff. Let's say there is an enemy that pulls up to her with skill 1 and she gets her ass beat. Well, use skill 2 and activate it when the enemy approaches so she has more defense and can now tank him. She will then proceed to heal all the damage back when she stops cooking, and by that time the enemy should be dead by the broken caster you put there with her. But then, isn't Hank's skill the power creep? That also increases his defense by the same amount. Well, no, you absolute clown! This is because Hank has a defensive recharge, which puts him in a whole other discussion compared to the others. If you want it to actually heal, yes, this is incredibly finicky, because you need to have Diavolo's Epitaph and see 10 seconds into the future to activate it in advance. But if you want to heal, you should be using S1 in the first place. Is this skill good then? No, I have only used it twice total, but both of those times was in high risk CC, so I guess that counts for something? Overall, Gummy is an incredibly solid tank that also has a reliable stun and a solid DPS for her class. Still, Nearl and Saria are better for the average player. All the niches and odd tidbits I mentioned here will realistically never come up for a normal player that doesn't literally use Gummy in every stage. And at that point, it's kind of a niche Knights, like a Gummy Knights. So, at the end of the day, yeah, Saria and Nearl are way better operators. With all that said, she goes in EX tier. That's right, I am making a new tier. This is my video. I make the rules. I can do whatever I want. And I am also moving Nightingale here.